We're gonna get this started. Let's go.
Yeah, everybody put 3 fingers in the air. The sky's falling, the wind is calling down.
Sure.
Everybody, welcome to Stand Up for Science 2025. My name is JP. I am a co-lead organizer here, and I'm excited to get these speakers in front of you so we can talk about the attack on science currently. The first person I have up is Dr. Jonathan Berman. He is a scientist, science educator, and a science advocate who organized the original March for Science 2017. He's a big reason why we are here today. Please join me in welcoming Jonathan Berman.
You know, I had kind of hoped that the next time I would be coming to DC, it would be to visit the Smithsonian or something, and not this again. But we can't stand up for science once. We have to continually advocate for science because there are going to continue to be attacks on science. And I guess I'm here to kind of pass the baton to the group of organizers, and it is always a group, not just one person. And there's a fantastic group of organizers who put this together. Colette, JP, Emma, Sam, Leslie, and many other people. So I can applaud for them and say, science, the epistemic method, is how we learn about the world and innovate and solve problems. And the enterprise of science creates jobs and innovations, and every dollar we invest in research comes back many-fold in
do you have audio now?
Cures and technology and more dollars, and we're not done. No one is here to deliver an epitaph for American science, one of the things we do best. We're here to make a stand and have a fun experience, but we're here to protest and send a message. And I think the fact that this has been organized largely by graduate students says that those of us to make a difference. So I am going to hand this off to JP again. Thank you so much for coming, and stand up for science.
I love that, man. If you've been reading any of the articles, you know, he's a big reason why we're here. He gave us the outline for everything. Up next, we have Dr. Phil Plait, an astronomer and science communicator. He has appeared on many TV shows talking about astronomy, and was the head science writer for season 1 of Bill Nye Saves the World on Netflix. He worked for decades on debunking bad science and defending it when it comes under attack. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Phil Plait.
That's right. Not that anybody else heard. I heard that, so good. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming out here. Hey, nerds. This is my wife's idea. We're going to take these back. This belongs to everybody. So, In his 2009 comedy show, Weapons of Self-Destruction, you know, I knew that was going to... Should have asked Michael Mann, he knows all about the weather. In his 2009 comedy show, Weapons of Self-Destruction, the incomparable Robin Williams describes an interview he did with a German talk show. The interviewer asked him, "Mr. Williams, why do you think there is not so much comedy in Germany?" Williams replied, "Did you ever think you killed all the funny people?" It's funny because it's true. In 1933, Hitler issued a law that said that any government workers who had at least one Jewish grandparent who stood against the Nazis were to be dismissed. The result? An exodus, a flood of people leaving Germany, including hundreds of scientists. One of those scientists was Albert Einstein. Many others went on to revolutionize our understanding of physics. None of them did that under the German flag. In the 1920s, a biology-denying crackpot named Trofim Lysenko claimed that natural selection was wrong. He found favor with Stalin, who made him the head of an important science academy, and he put this new biology into practice. The result? Thousands of actual scientists were imprisoned or exiled, and Lysenko's practices wound up prolonging a lot of famines that killed millions of people. Soviet work across many of the sciences also was sent back decades. And now, here we are. We are looking at the most aggressively anti-science government the United States has.
Boo! I agree. One example, RFK Jr. Man, I hope he's watching this. He is anti-vax. He is anti-medicine. He's expressed doubts about germ theory. Germ theory! In 2019, he stoked already existing vaccine fears in Samoa, casting further doubts on them. And the result was a measles outbreak that killed 83 people, mostly children. And now he's the head of Health and Human Services. He's already undermining critical medical research.
Boo.
Yeah. He's already undermining critical medical research, including vaccinations against COVID, the flu, the bird flu, and measles, even as an outbreak of measles has infected over 150 people, and one child has died. And I learned that yesterday another person died in this outbreak in New Mexico. His reaction? He shrugged and literally said, outbreaks are not unusual. Not unusual. He has downplayed vaccinations and instead promoted BS pseudoscience, like taking vitamin A and cod liver oil to prevent infections. These don't work. Even during the deadliest outbreak of measles in 2 decades in the United States, he can't be bothered to actively tell people to get vaccines, one of the most effective and proven scientific methods to prevent kids from dying. Now, on the other hand, he took this action, meager as it is, because the problem in Texas of the measles got too big to ignore. We can't let these anti-science issues get that big. We have to be too big to ignore. We have fought anti-science in this country before, and we've won. Creationists, anti-vaxxers, climate science deniers, we have taken them on. And while these fights continue, we've made a lot of progress. And, we made a lot of progress, but only when we take action. Action in the courts, action in the streets, actions online. We do this because we know what happens when governments attack science and what makes science, when they make science denial official policy. People's lives are thrown into disarray and millions can and do die. That's what happens when you deny science on a national scale. That's what happens when we don't fight. We cannot let this continue. We have to take science back. Talk to your representatives. Talk to your senators. Talk to your family, your neighbors, your friends. March, protest, go to rallies. Make your voice heard. Science is for all of us, so we must stand up for science. Thank you.
All right, y'all. Up next, we have Dr. Gretchen Goldman, an environmental scientist, policy advocate, and the president of the Union of Concerned Scientists. Previously, she served in the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy as the Assistant Director for Environmental Science, Engineering, Policy and Justice, and at the U.S. Department of Transportation as the Climate Change Research and Technology Director. Throughout her career, Dr. Goldman has been a science advocate and thought leader across the science and decision-making ecosystem. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Gretchen Goldman.
Hello, Washington, D.C. Hello to my fellow scientists. And hello to all of you here today to stand up for science. I'm Gretchen Goldman, president of the Union of Concerned Scientists. We work at the intersection of science and policy for a safer world and a healthier planet and people. I'm also a proud former federal scientist. And yes, I'm a current concerned scientist as well. And we are, in fact, deeply concerned. We are angry. We are resolute in our decision to support science and the critical role that scientists play to inform and drive policy and decisions that save lives. Because we know that when science is ignored, censored, tampered with, hit with misinformation, and defunded, that people get hurt. And when there's no funding for scientific research into disease prevention and cures, real people will suffer. When there's no one to keep our food, air, and water quality safe and clean, real people will get sick. When there's no one watching and alerting us to hurricanes, wildfires, and other extreme weather and climate impacts, people will die. When people are restricted from working on science that involves diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, and environmental justice, then real communities are harmed. And so we must save science and save lives. Make no mistake, this administration is attacking people who tell the truth. Those who promote facts, evidence, and reality that it doesn't like. The administration is firing and bullying and threatening scientists and workers across the government who make the world a better place, a safer place, a healthier place, workers who quietly save lives every day. And the administration refuses to face what science tells them. Science shines a light on this administration's lies, its misinformation, its disinformation, and its efforts to advance a corrupt agenda that benefits billionaires and fossil fuel companies at the expense of people and the planet. And so we stand together today to raise our voices together. All right. And to tell the administration that we will not back down. Today we have the opportunity and the responsibility to be united in this moment and to do everything we can to insist that the federal government works to save science and to save lives. So do not be intimidated. Do not back down. Do not let them silence you or the science that keeps us all safe. If you are a federal scientist, join us at the Union of Concerned Scientists for resources and support. If you're any scientist or any science supporter, join our Save Science, Save Lives campaign to demand that DOGE get out of our government and demand a halt to these illegal funding freezes. So, let's unite together in our common cause today, because united we fight, united we win, and united we science. Thank you, DC.
All right, everybody. That's a great sign. Make a statistically significant difference? Yeah, that's a great sign. It's my pleasure to introduce the first musical act of the day, the DC Labor Choir.
Thank you, everybody. We are the DC Labor Chorus. Jamie Raskin has called us the musical arm of the resistance. We are here to raise our voices with you as scientists. We're going to sing loud. We're going to sing proud. We're going to sing two tunes that have been around a while that hopefully you know, and please sing along with us. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Science lights the way. Science lights the way. Tree that's planted by the water, we shall not be moved. We're standing up for science. We're standing up for science. We shall not be moved. We're standing up for science. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the water, we shall not be. Fighting for our future. Fighting for our future. We shall not be moved. We're fighting for our future. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We're going to stand and fight together. We're standing and fight together. We shall not be moved. We're stand and fight together. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. One more time. We shall not be. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Stand strong, we're with you. Join the DC Labor Chorus. Yeah.
She said join it, right? I kind of, after that, I want to join it. It is my great honor to introduce our next speaker. Dr. Atul Gawande is the former assistant administrator for global health at USAID. He is a renowned surgeon, author, and public health leader. His previous roles include serving as a practicing general and endocrine surgeon at Brigham and Women's Hospital, as a professor at Harvard Medical School and the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. And he is also a staff writer for the New Yorker magazine. Please join me in welcoming the amazing Dr. Atul Gawande.
Are you scientists? Are you health professionals? Are you nerds? We have a job to do. Are you with me on this job? This job is that we must bear witness. We must bear witness to the harm, to the dangerous game that they are playing, and to the truth. Here's the game that they are playing. They take a spreadsheet with the work of thousands of scientists and professionals. They scan for examples they can distort and ridicule. They ask no one what their work actually is. They ignore obvious information about it. They'll call hormone and transgenic research in mice making transgender mice. They'll ridicule male circumcision programs in Mozambique, which cuts HIV transmission 2/3 and has saved thousands of people from HIV.
If you know, you know.
They will call programs to prevent HIV in transgender populations, in men who have sex with men, in IV drug users. They will call that DEI. When they will cause deaths from this occurring. Then they make absurd claims that this indicates rampant waste and fraud.
Lies.
Boo.
Lies.
They'll demand that there is loyalty to repeat these lies. And then they use the lies to gleefully stop serious, important funding and work. They will use these lies to take down entire agencies like USAID.
Boo!
They destroy thousands of careers. I watched people walk out the door with their boxes containing their entire careers, fired and purged by the thousands. Then they deny the harm to millions of lives. They've done it at USAID. They are now doing it at NIH, at CDC, at FDA, and beyond. Shame. Shame. It is shame.
Shame.
They are denying the harm in order to destroy an engine that made the U.S. the greatest driver of science, of health, and of prosperity in the world. So here is our job. Don't just debunk the lies, but debunk the lies. point out the game. Point out the game that they are playing. That is an essential thing. The science says that's how you debunk. You point out the game. Now ask yourself, why are they doing this? Why would they do this? It's for the same reason the Inquisition imprisoned Galileo. It is the same reason that Einstein had to flee Hitler's Germany. It's because science is independent. Science...
Independent of billionaires.
It's because science doesn't always give the answers that power wants. So what are we going to do? Bear witness. Tell your story. Not just here, but wherever you are. Tell your story in court. Tell your story to Congress. But above all, tell your story to the people you know, where you came from, everywhere around the country. This place does not drive change. This place in D.C. follows change. It's the people who make the difference. So tell your families, tell your friends, tell the people that you know. And so I want you to pledge with me right now. Pledge with me. I will bear witness. To the truth.
To the truth.
To the harm that they are doing.
To the harm that they are doing.
And to their dangerous and deadly game.
To their dangerous and deadly game.
Thank you, everybody.
You know, I remember at the start of the year how paralyzed I felt, and I just wanted to scream. So real quick, and everybody just let it all out right now. Yep. I'm excited to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Haley Chatelain, a postdoctoral research fellow at the National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences at the NIH. Please join me in one big applause, or many. Please welcome Dr. Haley Chatelain.
Hey guys, let's go! Can I hear you? Can I hear you? Who's here for science? All right, my name is Haley Chatelain. I use she, her pronouns, and I am Vice President of our union, UAW 2750 NIH Fellows United! UAW, where you at? All right! Now guys, I started at the National Institutes of Health 3 years ago. Let me tell you, when I started, I was so proud. I had been a doctor for all of 2 weeks. And I was setting off to do science at the best place in the world. And not only that, I was going to do science for my country. And you guys know the science that I do personally is inherently a team sport. I use cutting-edge big data techniques to find out how the chemistry in our body changes when we get sick. And I work with teams of experts to take all of that chemical information and turn it into new ways to find treatments for diseases ranging from diabetes to cancer. I know that if we want to find treatments for more diseases that are bolder and more efficient even, then we need diverse and inclusive scientists so that we can leverage all of our expertise. And
And you know, our union is a team too. That right? All right. And we're a team that wins for science. 2 years ago, we won recognition as the largest federal union in a decade. And this past December, we won a historic contract that sets the standard for early career scientists throughout the country. Our contract reflects real, worker-won rights to protect the science that we love and believe in when others would prefer to sow chaos. And you know, that's just us at NIH, but we're part of a whole movement. When they froze grant funding, we teamed up with unions across the country to host a phone bank to call our congresspeople. More than 1,000 people showed up. Guess what happened the next day? There was a restraining order on those grant freezes. And you know, when they unjustly fired our coworkers, oh yeah, we said, hell nah. We showed up at the front door of Health and Human Services. We had a rally. And news outlets from across the country, across the world, showed up, they reported, and they showed everybody that we, not those guys with the hair and the chainsaws, are the face of a unionized government scientific workforce that fights for the American people. And you know, we're all keeping this up here today. As scientists, we stand on the shoulders of giants. And today, we are all standing shoulder to shoulder with giants. Everybody here has the ability to move us forward. Everybody here is a leader. Lead with your hearts now. See what's going on around you. Join your union if you have one. Call your congresspeople. Talk to your family. Talk to your friends, your neighbors, especially if they're in a red state, and even if they're difficult to talk to. And say this shit with your chest. We will not stand for the dismantling of the American scientific workforce. We will not stand for the dismantling of American scientific progress. We will stand together to fight for it. Now say this with me. We discover together. We innovate. We innovate together. We stand together. We discover together. We innovate together. We stand together. Let me hear you. Let's go.
Hello, everybody. It is my great privilege to introduce the next speaker. I asked for the privilege to do so. You'll hear from me a little bit in a little while, but right now I want you to hear from a remarkable young woman, Emily Whitehead, the very first person to receive CAR T cell therapy for cancer, who at the age of 7 was pretty much done with all the possible opportunities that could have helped. And CAR T came along. And now, please welcome Emily Whitehead, sophomore at the University of Pennsylvania, and her father, Tom.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Whitehead, and I am here today because almost 15 years ago, I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia at the age of 5. The doctors told my parents that if you have a kid with cancer, ALL is the most curable. However, that wasn't the case for me. After undergoing 22 months of failed chemotherapy, they were ready to send me home on hospice and told my parents to enjoy the days that they have left with me. But miraculously, a phase 1 clinical trial at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia had just opened and was ready to try it on their first pediatric patient. In April of 2012, I became the first child in the world to receive CAR T-cell therapy, which trained my immune system to beat my cancer. Today, I am almost 13 years cancer-free. I am a sophomore at the University of Pennsylvania studying English and photography. I am a patient advocate who spreads awareness of less toxic cancer treatments that exist today because of science. Without funding research that went into developing the treatment that saved my life, I wouldn't be here today. I stand up for science for all of the other children all over the world who are fighting cancer so they can get back to their childhood outside of the hospital. I stand up for science so kids can grow up to be the next generation of scientists. I stand up for science for underrepresented groups whose voices are not as heard as mine. Every child deserves equal and equitable access to life-saving treatments, no matter their background, identities, or where they come from. I stand up for science because science saved my life, and that is a fact. Thank you.
All right. Up next, I have the great pleasure to introduce one of my mentors and one of my role models and scientific heroes. Dr. Francis Collins is an American physician scientist who discovered the genes associated with a number of diseases and led the Human Genome Project. He served as director of the NIH 2009 to 2021, serving under 3 presidents. Dr. Collins announced his retirement publicly from the NIH 6 days ago on March 1st, 2025, after 32 years of service. Please, please, please join me in welcoming one of my friends, role models, and mentors, Dr. Francis Collins.
Well, thanks, JP. That was a really nice introduction. And let me maybe ask you one more time to cheer for JP, for Emma, for Sam, for Colette, all the people that have organized this effort. You guys are amazing. Even more. So we're gathered here in front of the Lincoln Memorial. It's a sacred civic space. And we're celebrating the achievements of science over decades in bettering the human condition and advocating for strong public support at a time when serious threats of harm are happening. I'm a physician scientist. You heard I spent 32 years at NIH, including, including leading the Human Genome Project and serving presidents of both parties as the director. But I'm a patriot. I love my country, and I'm worried about my country right now. Just behind me, if you go and visit the memorial, you'll see etched on the wall the 271 unforgettable words of the Gettysburg Address. It occurs to me there might be a parallel there to what we're talking about. Let me remind you of the last sentence of that Gettysburg Address, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Are we still there? Well, science has been of the people, hasn't it? We're studying ourselves sometimes to help ourselves to flourish. The Human Genome Project, after all, this 13-year effort revealed our own instruction book. This has transformed human biology and medicine. And please note this. That project only succeeded through the strong support of members of Congress and presidents of both parties back then. A little fun fact, estimates several years ago suggest that every dollar the government invested in the Human Genome Project led to $141 in economic returns. Not a bad ROI. We should keep emphasizing that part for the people who are less swayed by arguments about saving lives. We are also saving money. Come on. You know, that same visionary of the people perspective has birthed a number of other bold projects supported by the federal government. The Brain Initiative. Yeah? Figuring out how those 86 billion neurons between your ears do what they do. We're on the path to do that. The All of Us Initiative that's enrolled almost 1 million Americans to figure out genetics, environment, health behaviors, social, all those inputs to faith, to health that we don't understand well enough. That is a big, bold effort. But I have to tell you, both of those groundbreaking projects, Brain and All of Us, are now at severe risk because of budget and workforce cuts. You guys are good. Okay, that was of the people. What about by the people? Well, yeah. Who does the science? A lot of you guys, yeah, biologists, engineers, computer scientists, AI experts, disease advocates, health professionals, economists, physicians, patient partners, bioethicists. It's all of that. That is the people that make science happen. And that depends critically also on the ecosystem of contributions from the public and the private sectors with some help from philanthropy. But by far, the most important source of basic science support in the United States is the federal government. And it works. Do you know, a recent survey showed that more than 99% of new drug approvals depended in some way on NIH research. 99%. So industry also has a lot to lose if the federal investment is damaged. By the way, it would be good to hear more about that from pharmaceutical company leaders. Just say it. And the talent that makes up by the people comes from lots of different backgrounds. Diversity of perspectives and opinions leads to greater productivity. You know that? Diversity in the workforce is not just a nice social idea. It's a way to enhance success of the whole enterprise. We should keep saying that. People seem somehow to have missed that point. Some of them have. And now science is also for the people. Cystic fibrosis used to be associated with death in your teens. And now, thanks to 30 years of hard work involving lots of NIH support, working with philanthropy, the CF Foundation, and industry, CF is now leading to an opportunity for people to make retirement plans. Can you believe that? Sickle cell is being cured by gene therapy. Thousands of other rare diseases, and we'll hear about a couple of folks in that circumstance shortly, are being potentially cured in the coming decade with CRISPR and gene editing. Individuals with what seem to be hopeless late-stage cancers, like Emily, who you just heard about, are using chemotherapy on top of immunotherapy and achieving dramatic responses, even cures. We're finally making real progress in Alzheimer's disease, but we got a long way to go, and this would be a terrible time to slow down that momentum. And for infectious disease, which continues to be a major threat to humanity across the globe, that rollout of mRNA vaccines in just 11 months after the first detection of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Woo! Yeah, that will be seen by historians as perhaps science's greatest achievement up until now. I kid you not. And that saved 3 million lives in the U.S. alone. Probably some of us here, although we might not know we were the ones saved. That's the estimate. So are we done? Huh? No.
No.
With the risk of H5N1 and Mpox, some strange thing that's happening in the Congo, and other pandemic pathogens threatening our future, this would be a terrible time to dismantle our infectious disease research and our global public health efforts.
Mm-hmm.
So the success of the American scientific enterprise, which is the envy of the rest of the world over the last past decades, it is of the people, by the people, and for the people. It's been one of our nation's greatest achievements, enabling stunning discoveries about how life works, extended life expectancy, reduced disease burden. And by the way, science is responsible for more than 50% of the economic growth of the United States since World War II.
Yes! Facts.
That's a fact and not an opinion. Can there be improvements in efficiency of government agencies? Of course there can. During my 12 years as NIH director, we talked about those almost every day, and the search should continue. But interventions need to be made with full understanding of the whole ecosystem. While moving fast and breaking things might be an appropriate mantra for Silicon Valley, a better mantra when the decisions will potentially disrupt an institution with a stunningly positive track record and affect the future health of the nation, let's go with first do no harm. So finally, I just want to give testimony to the people who make science what it is. Some people think it's technologies or it's buildings. No, it's the people who do this.
Yes! We the people.
It's graduate students working in the lab at 2 a.m. to finish an experiment.
All-nighters.
It's engineers that are developing a new technology that allow us to understand how brain circuits work.
Woo!
And it's patients with cancer, by the way, like me. I'm a cancer survivor, putting their trust in the research enterprise and taking part in a clinical trial, as I have done. Those are the people. And those people are all of you who are here today to declare your support for this noble human enterprise. I think if we're going to talk about people, there's one more thing we need to do before I sit down. We need to sing about them. Okay. We're going to hope the wind doesn't get the better of this.
Woo!
Can we get a guitar. This is a sing-along, and it has a chorus that's really easy to learn. Can you find the guitar? Something. Hello, sound booth. Can I get a little hint if we might be getting this to work? Yes, a thumbs up.
We are good to go.
You can, okay, good. I can't tell. So this is a song that's often sung at the end of a folk festival, but it's been rewritten for today by me. It's a song about all the good people that I was just talking about. You are all the good people. Well, this is a song for all the good people who are part of this family. This is a song for all the good people. We're joined together by this noble dream. Have you got that? So it's just all the good people, but the second line, part of this family, and the last line, we're joined together by this noble dream. Do that with me. This is a song for all the good people. Come on. All the good people who are part of this family. This is a song for all the good people. We're joined together by this noble dream. Well, this is a song for all of those dreamers. We're looking for answers to come our way. Scientists, doctors, students, all seekers. We share in the hopes for a much brighter day. Come on now. Well, this is a song for all the good people. All the good people who are part of this family. This is a song for all the good people. We're joined together by this noble dream. Well, this is a song for all of the patience. Your strength and your spirit have touched one and all. It's your dedication that's our inspiration. When we see your courage, we have to stand tall. So this is a song for all the good people, all the good people who are part of this family. This is a song for all the good people. We're joined together by this noble dream. So come all you people and stand up for science. Come join this alliance to make those dreams clear. It's of, it's by, and it's for the people. What Lincoln was thinking, it's now and it's here. So this is a song for all the good people, all the good people who are part of this family. This is a song for all the good people. We're joined together by this noble dream. We're joined together by this noble dream.
Check 1, check 2.
We couldn't really hear this because of the music, but I did hear some Francis chants, so maybe one more time. Francis, Francis.
Francis, 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 Francis.
Awesome, y'all. So I just got a note over at the booth. It says, shout out to everyone from Johns Hopkins University. There will be a photo shoot for all the JHU community members at 1:30 at the top of the memorial behind the stage. Thank you for your support. JHU stands for science. Up next, it is my pleasure to introduce Gabriella Amaya, an advocate who shares her journey living with Ollier's disease, a rare bone disorder that caused malformed growth in her right leg and required multiple surgeries during childhood. Her experiences of navigating a non-typical childhood, physical pain, and later ovarian cancer have shaped her into a passionate advocate for the disability community. As the founder and host of Redefine, a podcast dedicated to unpacking life with a disability, Gabriella explores themes of pride, shame, and identity while amplifying disabled voices. Please join me in welcoming Gabriella Amaya.
Hello, DC. How are we? Oh my goodness. I am so honored to be here with all of you, and I want to say thank you for showing up today. Thank you, JP, for that wonderful introduction. My name is Gabriella, and yes, I live with a rare bone disease called Ollier's disease, and I have been a patient my entire life. Just shy of 2 weeks ago, I participated in a research study with the National Institute of Health, where I had the privilege of meeting doctors and researchers at the top of their field, who are undeniably now an integral part of my life. I decided the best way, we can cheers to that, woo! I decided that the best way to express myself today was to write a letter to my younger self. Here it goes. Dear Gabriella, you should tell them what it was really like to have no answers, to have no idea what was happening to your body, to trying to find a name for your diagnosis, to have lost your friends to the same disease, and to have even lost parts of yourself along the way. But we don't have enough time to go into detail. You remember the pain, the surgeries, anxiety, and fear. How could you forget? It's still ongoing. All the nights that you held onto your body, desperately wondering if this pain would pass. To realize that uncertainty and pain were at the core of your condition. You remember what your mother did for you. You remember all the doctors that she spoke to, the insurances that denied her over and over again. Because this, boo, boo, this was not medically necessary. You would not be here without advocates. You would not be here without that one doctor, that one researcher, that one scan, and that one friend. The thing about living with a rare disease is that we are constantly holding on to the hope and the promise of something, because it's all we truly have. We do not have protocols, guidelines, or confidence in our outcomes or the future. Yet, we are often told to accept this as our destiny. But that is not the case for the doctors and researchers at NIH. They are looking for us, they are listening to us, and they are showing up for us. Woo! NIH! They're not just helping us, they're not just giving us hope, but they are helping us to believe in the promise of tomorrow. because the truth is that we are all in this together. Woo! We have been from the very beginning, and the same way that my community of raresies show up for each other. Thank you to my raresies. Where are you? Not many. As tired as I think I am of people telling me no, I'm not. I'm ready. No is not enough. Cutting funding for scientific research is not the answer. Politics is not more important than our lives. And DEI is not the damn problem. We show up and we give everything that we have because we are all still here. And our stories are not one of the past, they're one of today. Thank you.
One more time for Gabriella. Come on, y'all. Up next, we have Samantha J. Duran. She, her, a disabled activist, content creator, adaptive fashion designer, and public speaker dedicated to disability justice, advancing accessibility, and healthcare equity. Born with an ultra-rare genetic cancer syndrome and bone disease called Maffucci syndrome, Samantha has spent her life navigating a world that was not built with disabled people in mind. This firsthand experience fuels her relentless advocacy for systemic change, whether it's fighting for accessibility, healthcare access, challenging discriminatory policies, or pushing industries to embrace disability equity. Samantha's activism bridges policy, media, and grassroots organizing, ensuring that disabled voices are not just included, but centered in conversations about justice and progress. Please join me in welcoming Samantha.
Yeah. Thank you. Hi, DC! Thank you all for being here and for making sure that our voices are heard. As they said, I have an ultra-rare cancer syndrome and bone disease called Maffucci syndrome. Imagine being born with an ultra-rare disease that fewer than 200 people have had in all of history. It caused you to be born with bone tumors all over your body and vein tumors in your hands and feet. There is no treatment or cure, and every year your tumors keep growing and spreading. Not only is the pain excruciating, but having so many tumors astronomically raises your risk of developing all types of cancers, some of which are chemo and radiation-resistant sarcomas. It's not a matter of if I get cancer, but when. With every new pain and symptom, I have to ask myself, is this finally it? Do I have cancer? And it's a daily terror. Like most rare disease patients, my life is at the mercy of research funding provided by the NIH. There is currently a chemo trial in Europe that not only shrinks Maffucci syndrome tumors stops them from growing, decreases pain, and increases mobility and quality of life, but also prevents the cancer transformation. For the first time in my life, I had hope for a better future, one not dictated by pain, fear, and the inevitable of cancer. But now, with NIH funding halted indefinitely, that hope is slipping away. Boo indeed. And I am not alone. There are 30 million Americans with rare diseases and countless others with common chronic conditions, cancer, and illnesses that desperately need continued research. Without NIH funding, life-saving studies don't just slow down, they stop. And when research stops, people suffer and people die. We cannot let that happen. We have seen what's possible when we invest in science. Polio was eradicated. HIV was transformed from a death sentence to manageable and an undetectable condition. Cancer treatments are getting better every year. And these breakthroughs didn't happen by accident. They happened because we chose to fund science. So today I am asking you to stand with me, stand with rare disease patients, and stand with scientists like yourself. Stand with every single person whose life depends on research, including your own, because you are not immune to becoming disabled.
Woo! Absolutely.
So keep showing up like you are right now. Call your representatives. Don't stop being an unrelenting activist.
Woo!
And demand for funding for the NIH.
Yes.
Hope is not gone. Hope is here. It's in this crowd.
We are hope. Science
It's in our voices and in our fight. And together, we can make sure hope wins.
Woo!
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate you being here, and I really appreciate the science and knowledge you all contribute and provide for our society, because our society is founded by science. We can't get anywhere in our lives without science. So keep showing up, truly, and thank you. Bye.
There's a little link on our website where you can answer the question, why I stand for science. And I'm going to read a couple off. Scientific discovery is the people's right. Stop the coup. To maintain funding for the strongest biomedical research enterprise worldwide. And in support of my fellow scientists who work for the government and are afraid to march, because empathy is a powerful human emotion.
Absolutely.
Up next, it is my honor to introduce Dr. Atul Gawande, a professor at NYU, New York University. Working as a biologist, Atul has made groundbreaking discoveries in evolution, development, and cancer. He's also the co-author of the popular science book, The Society of Genes, and a host of the acclaimed podcast, The Night Science Podcast. Please join me in welcoming Atul.
You guys are awesome. I'm getting goosebumps. So, okay, I'm a scientist, and the way I see it, a huge part of my job, the main part of my job, is to make good on this country's investment in science. But today, the reason why we're here is because that investment is under threat. There are powerful forces in this country that are seeking to undermine the trust in science, the trust in scientists. They are ridiculing some research as being frivolous, like studying the wing of a fly. They claim that because scientists sometimes change their minds, then that means that science itself might be not trustworthy. They fault science for not providing immediate answers. But these are all false claims. They're mischaracterizations of science, and they are dangerous. The truth is that science does not offer immediate answers. Science does not offer absolute certainty. That's not what science is about. Science is an unpredictable process, but science delivers. Time and time again, what we see is that when we let scientists follow their curiosity, then amazing things happen. Spectacular discoveries, important, crucial innovations emerge. And often they come from a field that's totally unrelated from where the research started out. I'll give you an example. In my own lab, we set out to study how our ancestors lost their tails 25 million years ago. Along the way, we found insight into a devastating birth defect that was totally unpredictable. What about CRISPR? It's an amazing genetic engineering tool. And yet, who would have thought that the way you discover it is by studying bacteria and their immunity? Yeah. And that wing of a fly that some naysayers ridicule, well, when studying the wing of a fly, we found crucial insights into cell proliferations and the basis for how cancer starts. We must remind people that investment in science is crucial for our health, for our economy, and for our future. So, If this government is really business-minded, then science is an investment that you cannot refuse. Thank you very much.
So once again, I've asked for the opportunity to introduce the next speaker. We are fortunate to have with us here in this beautiful afternoon a senator who's been an astronaut and who, until about 2 months ago, was in fact the administrator of NASA. So please welcome the remarkable Senator Bill Nelson.
Thank you, Francis. Everybody, NASA is a research and development organization. It would not exist without the science that we do. A lot of people don't realize that on the International Space Station right now, there are medical experiments going on, some of whom have had breakthroughs with such things like stem cells, such things like protein crystal growth, on a whole list of dread disease. I had the privilege when I flew in space 39 years ago of conducting the first protein crystal growth experiment as what zero-G does in allowing you to unlock the secrets of the proteins. That's one example. Give you another example. You know, we're concerned that we don't want to be the same fate that the dinosaurs had when an asteroid 6 miles in diameter came in and hit the Earth about the Yucatan Peninsula and destroyed all the dinosaurs. We're actually using science and physics as we, first of all, scan the heavens with our telescopes to find a killer asteroid. And we did an experiment called DART, where we actually, 7 million miles from Earth, we hit the bullseye at 14,000 miles an hour, and we moved its trajectory. Final example, and I could give you so many. Final example, we are not only a space agency, an aeronautical agency, we are a climate agency. So we've got a couple of dozen spacecraft up there that are constantly looking at the Earth, giving us measurements that we've never seen before of what's happening to our planet. I can tell you, when you go into space and you look back at this beautiful Earth, you come away with a sense of awe that you want to be a better steward of what we have been given. And so the final thing I leave you with is, as I orbited the Earth every 90 minutes, I look back through my eyes as an elected official, and I did not see racial division, I did not see religious division, and I did not see political division. What I saw is we are all in this together as citizens of planet Earth. Thank you.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
Can we get a round of applause for DJ Sid over there? Up next, we have Dr. Takora Jones, who's the Chief Science Officer for NRDC, the Natural Resources Defense Council. The NRDC works to safeguard the earth, its people, plants, and animals, and the natural systems in which all life depends. As Chief Science Officer, Dr. Jones works with the Science Office to provide strategic leadership that shapes NRDC's advocacy and enhances the scientific integrity and reputation of NRDC's work. Prior to her role at NRDC, she served as Agency Chief Scientist for USAID and spent many years as the Managing Director for Research. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Takora Jones.
I mean, maybe I don't give a damn about my reputation, but like, I do love this DJ. Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, no. Anyone who has actually been in a place with me knows that you need to talk to me. Good afternoon. Good job. It is my privilege to join you all today. I want to thank you so much for taking your time. Some of you may be here because you don't have any place else to be, because people were wrong and rude. But many of you have taken the time to be here because you care about the fact that science is being dismantled and destroyed across the U.S. But I want to talk to you for a second, not just about what's happening in the U.S. I want to talk to you about how it's affecting science and scientists overseas. So you heard in my introduction that I was at USAID. Let's give some love to USAID. In my nearly 15 years there, I was so privileged to do so much that I didn't know was possible. I started my science career at the tender age of 10. How many of you got chemistry sets and microscopes when you were 10? And really was just out exploring nature. But what made me a global scientist was starting graduate school the first week. Well, the first week of graduate school, September 11th, happened. And what it made me do was think more broadly about how I could be of service, how I could support scientists, and what it meant for me to show up for more than just something interesting and something curious. You know, when I was a kid, Mr. Wizard was who I saw on TV as a scientist. Don't do math. I know, I look like I'm still 29. You're welcome.
You look good.
But what happened for me in graduate school is I knew I wanted to be part of a global conversation. I wanted to understand how we as scientists can show up as global citizens. And I had the privilege to do that at USAID.
Woo!
The kinds of programs that I was privileged to partner and help build were things that supported researchers all the way around the world. They were about how you could offer the same kinds of opportunities to do research and be innovative to kids in Kampala that you could for kids in Kansas City. And with the destruction of that agency, a lot of that is going away. It's not just going away in human form, it's going away in what isn't happening anymore. For those of you who may have grown up on farms, it takes a while to grow new crops. And if people are looking at new drought-tolerant or resistant things, you've got to spend some time making that work. Those crops are being left fallow in the field because the research programs that were funding that kind of innovation have stopped.
Boo!
So when we're talking about destroying government research, it's not just the American kind, it's the global kind. And I know you all are used to hearing about it in the context of global pandemics, because how many of you all were in graduate school during COVID-19? I don't know if you should cheer about that. I want to celebrate your resilience for getting through that. You should give yourselves a hand. Woo! And so the world that we live in is made less safe because we are not partners in it anymore, or we're taking away from those partnerships. I encourage all of us to think deeply about how we continue to partner. I think when Atul Gawande was up here, one of the other many amazing speakers you all have had, it is encouraging you all to think deeply about how you talk to everyone around you, how you explain the things you do so that the kindergartners in your lives can understand them. And I know that's like the outreach thing, and our professors are like, no, don't do that. But some of how we got here is a communications crisis, because we were too willing to only talk to ourselves and not to everyone else. So the thing that I need all of you to do is to make sure you are having those conversations about why your work is important with every single person in your life. Whether it's your kindergartner or your grandma, you need to be able to do that. So, though I left USAID 2 years ago, and I spent time with my colleagues who were laid off and were evicted from their building that's just over there last week, the work that I do now as the Chief Science Officer for NRDC is about the kinds of work that is important to protect our planet. Why are we protecting our planet? Because we live here, damn it! And it's not just us that lives here, it's the plants that live here and the animals that live here. But to your point, no science, no wildlife. We love all of the things that we can look at and make us feel emotion, but like, why would we protect the planet except to protect the spaces and places that we live? We must be more holistic in how we operate. Climate change isn't just about greenhouse gases, it's about air quality and extreme heat and public health. These are all things that NRDC cares about. So as I end my time, I encourage you all to remember to talk to each other and everyone else that is here as you make community with one another and stand up for one another. Do that in a way that is sustainable, because we've got a long fight ahead of us. Thank you.
Once again, I'm taking the privilege of introducing somebody who's been very special in my experience at the NIH as the director for 12 years, and before that at the Genome Project. A wonderful former congressman from the state of Michigan who was the main author, along with his colleague, Diana DeGette, of the 21st Century Cures Bill, which many people consider the most significant legislation of this millennium when it came to supporting medical research. Never mind. So please welcome Congressman Fred Upton.
for this block before we get into some music. I heard some NIH chants over there. Can we get that going again? NIH! 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 All right, y'all. It is my pleasure to introduce Senator Christopher Van Hollen. Currently the senior U.S. Senator from Maryland, a seat he has held since 2017, a member of the Democratic Party. He previously served as a U.S. Representative for Maryland's 8th Congressional District from 2003 to 2017, and as a Maryland State Senator from 1995 to 2003. Please join me in welcoming Senator Van Hollen.
And I could already taste the pain, the sudden fear that grips and shakes you when you face the truth.
Are we all here to defend science? Because we know that when you defend science, you are defending the health and welfare of the American people. Isn't that right? Now, I am just thrilled to be here with so many mad scientists. And you should be mad, and you should be angry, and everybody in America should be mad and angry about what we are witnessing right now in our country, including the illegal and reckless attacks on science by Elon Musk and the Trump administration. Because those illegal attacks are literally putting people's lives at risk around the country. Are we going to let that happen? Are we going to shut down the illegal Musk operation? Make no mistake, this has nothing to do with government efficiency. If you care about government efficiency, and we all do, you don't start by firing all of the inspector generals in the United States government, do you? Because when you do that, you're firing the independent watchdogs whose job it is to look out for waste, fraud, and abuse. So when you fire the IGs as your first step, what you're doing is opening the door to waste, fraud, and abuse. And that abuse is what we are seeing right now, because Elon Musk and his Doge cronies are not trying to make the government more efficient. What they are doing is slashing important services that benefit all Americans and trying to rig the government to do the bidding of people like Elon Musk. Are we going to let that happen? And we are seeing that, of course, in these attacks on science, starting with the attacks on the National Institutes of Health. It is not efficient to freeze clinical trials that are in progress to try to find cures and treatments to cancer or Alzheimer's. Is that efficient? No, what that is putting people's lives at risk. It's not efficient to deny universities and institutions around the country the ability to buy equipment and other supports to do life-saving research. Is that efficient? No, this is going to end up hurting millions of Americans around the country. Now, fortunately, a federal judge has put a halt on some of these illegal activities. Thank you to the judge. And I want to read from her opinion. When she made that decision, she said there was, quote, an imminent risk of halting life-saving clinical trials, disrupting the development of innovative medical research and treatment, and shuttering of research facilities without regard for current patient care. Are we going to let that stand? And I am glad that judge issued that opinion, and we need to make sure that we continue to fight this in the courts, in Congress, and in communities around the country. Are we going to do that? I want to look at FDA. We've seen illegal firings at the Food and Drug Administration. These, of course, are the people that help make sure that the food we eat is safe. These are the people who make sure that the medicines that we take are safe and do what they say they will do. When you fire the people whose job it is to do that, you make Americans less safe. People will be hurt when you fire the people who are looking out for the American people when it comes to drugs and other kind of research. Are we going to let that happen? Now look at NOAA. Anybody here from NOAA? Everybody know what NOAA does? So NOAA does a lot of things, but one of the things folks at NOAA do at the National Weather Service is that there are eyes and ears when it comes to extreme weather events. So when you close your eyes and plug your ears, Americans will be put at risk. They will die. If you don't know an extreme weather event is coming your way, you don't have the time to take shelter. If you don't know an extreme weather event is coming your way, you can't take other measures to protect your property or your loved ones. And so knocking out the National Science Foundation, NOAA, is going to have that impact. Are we going to let that happen? And of course, there's the National Science Foundation, where, and Fred Upton was talking about this. I mean, they do cutting-edge work, and they reach out to others who are providing cutting-edge research to make sure that the United States of America remains the leader in innovation. When you fire everybody at the National Science Foundation, or lots of people, you put America's competitive edge at risk. Are we going to let that happen? Now, here's the thing. A judge, another federal judge, intervened to say those are illegal firings at the National Science Foundation. And because of that, at least for now, those employees have had to be brought back. And there are other judges that are standing up for the rule of law around the country. But we shouldn't have to rely on judges alone. We need to make sure that Congress does its job, and to do that, we need the votes to get it done, which is why what's happening here is so important, and happening at other places around the country is so important, because every member of Congress needs to recognize that they have an obligation to stand up for science, to stand up for their constituents, even when they're getting tweets against them from Elon Musk and others. And so, please call everybody you know, no matter where they live in the United States of America, and ask them to show up at rallies and town halls and demand that they be heard, because what's happening right now is a lot of members of Congress are running away from those town halls. But running away from those town halls is not going to make all of us and the American people go away, because we are witnessing a great betrayal. On the campaign trail, Donald Trump said he was going to focus on reducing prices and costs, but once in office, he began to implement Project 2025. Are we going to let that happen? So I believe at the end of the day, just like we were able to defeat the efforts to overturn the Affordable Care Act many years ago, and thank all of you who rallied to save the Affordable Care Act. Just like we did that, it was close. It ended up being one vote in the United States Senate, and I want you to keep that in mind as we rally around the country and fight this illegal Musk operation, that it requires all of us to knock on doors and make the phone calls and make your voices heard. Thank all of you for being here today to do just that, to protect our country, to save our Constitution, and to defend science. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for coming out here. I'm Venicia Roshko. I'm a student at University of Virginia studying behavioral neuroscience in the Department of Psychology. Okay, I'm one of the coordinators for the DC side. I wanted to shout out to all of the international students who really wanted to come here, who shared our message but couldn't be here today. Thank you. International students enrich our community and give so much to our science. I also want everyone here to know that we have a lot of international support. We have people that rallied, we have thousands of people that rallied in France, people that rallied in Germany, Norway, Slovakia, Canada. I just want the world and I want all of Congress to know that the international community is highly supportive of our cause right now. I have a statement from the Biomedical Institute of Sevilla, and so here is a message from Alicia Elena Rosales. As we say here in Spain, every time we have to stand up for research and against budget cuts, there is no future without science. The U.S. has always been a beacon for scientific research. Scientists around the world stand with United States students and researchers. I also have one more statement from a psychology student in Poland at Polish is really hard to pronounce. Jagiellonia University. Okay. I don't think she's going to be mad at me for that. She wants everyone to know that research is a universal force of collective knowledge which accelerates progress of society and individuals. These decisions to reduce the budget cannot be made suddenly. Such actions contradict common sense and diminish the ideology of science as an achievement to all people, regardless of profession and nationality. Thank you so much, and thanks for being here.
All right, y'all, be ready for some music, a little break from all the speeches. It is my pleasure to introduce one of my best friends from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. He is a local act. If you want to follow him, it is at Johnny.Sunrise on Instagram. Please do. Please join me in welcoming Johnny Sunrise.
Your first name is sweet, last name is dumb. Choose to believe in where we're from.
What's up, everybody? Give it up for JP one more time. I'm super stoked to be here. I think one thing I just wanted to point out is that this is the flagship rally for Stand Up for Science. Make some noise for yourself for being here. I want to see some high fives. These are your friends. These are your allies. Meet people. I'm just going to play a few songs for you. Let's do it. Everybody can you make a little balloon? This first song is called Good Luck. He's a cruel man, messing with you all of the time. Break the rules, man. He's hiding
you're a fool, man, thinking that you got what it takes. It's no use, man. He's living life inside of your brain, driving you insane. Good luck. Oh, good luck. Yeah, good luck to you. I mean, when you get a chance to do that, this is super dope. Give it up for JP. Give it up for all the organizers. I never thought I'd be opening for Bill Nye. He called me on the phone. He said, "Johnny, we need you." He said, "Please, please." He didn't even realize me and JP were friends. This is all true. This next song is about moving from New England to North Carolina with someone you love and not a lot of money, and the cockroaches are pretty big. Well, my insurance covers a whole lot of nothing, and your car is my car too. There's more bugs in the attic than bills in my pocket, but I'm living my dream life with you. Well, my drums cost more than our quarters. When the stove's on, the fuse box blew. Our lawnmower, it doesn't have a motor, but I'm living my dream life with you. To offer. I like the bars where the beers cost $2, but the vibes are impeccable and my friends are a spectacle, and I'm living my dream life with you. I don't know what all of this will lead to. All I know is I got a home to go when I need to. See that without the bugs, it's just you and me. And that's what's made all my dreams come true. Well, my insurance covers a whole lot of nothing, and your car is my car too. There's more bugs in the attic than bills in my pocket. I'm living my dream life with you. Yes, I'm living my dream life with you. Yes, I'm living my dream life with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You can take the guitar out of this monitor here. It's a little loud just in the monitor. I've got one more song for y'all. Thank you so much. I've been Johnny Sunrise. Keep the energy going. Come on. Where are the high fives? Give some high fives. And I know the wind has changed. Clouded view on a sunless day. Still we grow with our roots deep in the ground. Light will come back around again. Going for a PhD in clinical psychology, Gabby Mesner over there. Stubborn are the weeds. Just like you, just like me. Overgrown, must be 3 feet off the ground. I hope we come back around again. I hope that you still want me. I hope that you still want me. I hope that this won't be. Sorry, we gotta cut the song short here. Can I do the last 30 seconds? Okay. I hope that this won't be. I hope that you still want me. I hope that you still want me. I hope that you still want me. I hope that this won't be. I hope that you still
need a standing ovation. Woo!
Thank you all so much. I've been Johnny Sunrise. Give it up for yourselves. Let's stand up for science. DC, let me hear you. Thank you so much.
Your first name is Rita, last name is Dumb. She was still believe in where we're from.
All right, one more time for Johnny Sunrise. I am so excited to get this one going. So we can start here. Ready? Bill Nye, the Science Guy. I do not think he needs a little biography, but I'll do it anyway. He's a renowned science communicator, television presenter, author, and mechanical engineer. I have nothing else. I think we all know who he is. Please join me in welcoming Bill Nye.
Bill Nye, the Science Guy. Bill Nye, the Science Guy.
Hello, Washington! It is so good to see you all. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Thanks for joining us today. We are gathered to insist that our lawmakers stand up for science. The framers of the U.S. Constitution made sure to include Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8. Congress is to promote the progress of science and useful arts. Useful arts would be an 18th century expression for what nowadays we would call engineering. Using science to solve problems and make things. These constitutional ideas have helped make this country great, a world leader in innovation as well as in the rule of law. The process of science, along with our hard-won scientific body of knowledge, has enabled us to feed and care for the world's billions, build great cities, cure diseases, create global transportation and communication systems, and even know our place among the stars. My friends, science is part of the American story. If the United States is to lead the world, science cannot be suppressed. And so today, my friends, we demand that scientists not be censored, that there be legal safeguards to prevent political interference in their research, and that they be enabled to communicate their findings freely. Furthermore, we demand that all of us, the public, have access to scientific information. All the data, reports, and resources that were available before this president swore to uphold the U.S. Constitution in January of this year. This is our right. We paid for this science with our tax dollars. As we stand here today, certain elements in our own government have suppressed references to climate change, have advocated against life-saving vaccines, and have ordered an automatic review of papers for the purpose of censorship. Papers that include certain words like female. Over there, my friends, is the U.S. Capitol. To the other side, the side restricting access to scientific reports,
scientific data and resources. We ask, what are you afraid of? What is it about the process of science, modern medicine, caring for our neighbors, or Women's History Month that you all find so scary? My friends, science is in the national interest. Censoring science is not. I encourage those on the other side to break ranks, become leaders, oppose this suppression of science. The founders embraced the idea that by promoting science and engineering, our citizens would be free to do research and to innovate, which would in turn stimulate the economy, help us compete in the world stage, and keep us safe, ultimately improving the lives of all of us. Every citizen, each of us, wants a better future for ourselves and for our families. Together we can and we must stand up for science. Thank you. Thank you. Let's change the world. Thank you all. Bill Nye, the Science Guy.
We can keep those Bill chants going. We got another Bill next. Yeah. It is my pleasure to introduce Congressman Bill Foster, a scientist and businessman representing the 11th Congressional District of Illinois, a position he's held since 2013. He also represented the 14th Congressional District of Illinois from 2008 to 2011. He's the only PhD physicist in Congress. And he continues to be a champion for sustained federal funding for scientific research. Please join me in welcoming Representative Bill Foster.
Well, thank you all for that very kind introduction. You know, I sometimes introduce myself as saying that I represent 100% of the strategic reserve of physicists in the United States Congress. But for 25 years before getting into this business, I worked at Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory. We were smashing protons and antiprotons together to make particles that have not been around since the Big Bang. Woo. I was on the team that discovered the top quark, along with 100 scientists from universities and laboratories from around the world. And one of the reasons that you do science is not just to win the next war and not to win the next industrial competition, but part of the reason you do science is that you may make a discovery that will be in the science textbooks forever. And that is the dream of every scientist. And that's one of the dreams that's being crushed when this administration sends out an email, says, okay, summarize your work in 5 bullets. We will send it into some AI and judge your career. And, you know, that's a nightmare that has been in science fiction for a long time. But unfortunately, we have someone who has the ear of the White House that seems to think that he wants to be that guy who owns the robot factory that judges everyone. And that's one of the more destructive things that's happening here. You know, during the last Trump administration, I was the chair of the Science Committee Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee. And the first hearing we had was surveying the damage that had been done by the first Trump administration to the science enterprise. And it was very sad. But it was not as bad as it could be because they weren't organized yet. They are unfortunately organized now. And the damage is greater. So, you know, I don't want to lie to you and tell you things are necessarily going to be okay, because, you know, they may not. But what I can do is tell you that you have many members of Congress, including a lot of Republicans who are keeping their heads down, who really believe in science. And our jobs here is to give, well, our job here, look at you saw Fred Upton. He was a really, frankly, if all Republicans were like him, the world would be a better place. Okay? But there are others, and our jobs are to give them, well, if not the stiffness of spine, at least the viscosity of spine, in order to actually stand up for what they know is right, because they do. And those of you who have friends in Republican districts, tell them to contact their congressman, have a meeting in their home office, in their home state, and let them know that they're people that are their constituents that really give a rat's ass about science. And that, so you can see, I kind of bring all the charisma of the usual physicist to this job. Oh, excuse me, Riz, I am told that is the, okay. I'm trying, I really am. But I just want to let you know that your voices are being heard. When you're speaking the truth, your voice has a natural amplifier to it that you're not always aware of. Because when, I sat through most of the State of the Union speech. Yeah, I gave myself a quota of 5 objective falsehoods before I'd leave. And I hung around till we hit about 25. And then they said, okay, that's it, I'm out of here. But watching members that I knew and respected on the other side standing up and applauding for things that they knew were false is the thing that it really cuts me. And I was thinking about why is it that scientists care so deeply about that? And I think it's because, if you're a scientist and you stand up and say something you know is not true, it is a career-ending thing. You will lose your tenured position. No one will ever publish your papers. And your career is over. And so why do we take the truth so seriously? And I think it's because we operate on the edge of what is known. And so we cannot tolerate the additional uncertainty of whether the person who's presenting the data is actually lying. And so that's why, personally I find it hard to take, and personally why I enjoy seeing the fire in your eyes for what you're doing. Thank you all.
Let's get those signs up. Come on. What we got? Bill Nye taught you better? Yes, he did. What else we got? Come and take them. Girls just want to have funding. Keep your hands off our pipettes. No science, no wildlife. It's awesome, y'all. I'm excited to announce our next speaker. Dr. Mike Mann. Mike is an American climatologist and geophysicist. He's a Presidential Distinguished Professor of Earth and Environmental Science at the University of Pennsylvania. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Mike Mann.
Thanks. Thank you very much. I didn't choose that song, but I embrace it. Let me just say that. Let me also say I've always dreaded having to speak after my friend Bill Nye, but that is one of my great fears that is realized today. Good afternoon, everybody. It's so wonderful to see you all out here today to stand up for science. My name is Michael Mann, and let me warn you, I'm going to use the C word. I'm a climate scientist. Thank you. Thank you. I'm also an educator and a science communicator. Thanks. I've known adversity, having been targeted by fossil fuel interest groups, attacked by right-wing news sites, news outlets, and singled out by climate change denying politicians. Yes, unfortunately. And it's even worse today. All in an effort to discredit my research demonstrating the profound threat of human-caused climate change. But this is the most challenging moment I can recall. For science itself to gratuitously quote the title of my forthcoming book with vaccine scientist Peter Hotez, who some of you may know, science is under siege. We've heard it here today already. The banning of federally funded research in my own field of climate science, the normalization of anti-science in our government agencies and institutions, the NIH, NSF, EPA. These are among the most chilling developments. Now, I teach at Benjamin Franklin's University, the University of Pennsylvania. Okay, well, I'm no Ben Franklin, and I'm not speaking for the university, but I do often ask myself, what would Ben do? Franklin was a statesman, a diplomat, a public intellectual, an inventor, a scientist, and in fact, a climate scientist. And I'm not kidding. Despite the famous kite and thunderstorm story we've all heard, he did not actually invent electricity. Sorry, he didn't. That goes back to at least the 5th century BCE. But he did produce the first known depiction of the Gulf Stream. Climate science. And he was an environmental activist. He designed cleaner burning stoves, and he brought a lawsuit against a tannery that was dumping hazardous chemicals into the Delaware River. He was, of course, also a revolutionary who helped lead a rebellion against, this might sound familiar, a ruthless autocrat. A rebellion against a ruthless autocrat, an actual king, not a self-declared one. Franklin once said that to safeguard democracy, the people must have a keen sense of independence, self-respect, and their oneness. And I am feeling that oneness here today. I am absolutely feeling it here today, folks. Where we are indeed gathered to safeguard science, democracy, and our planet. Thank you. Franklin famously warned that we will have a republic only as long as we can keep it. Well, we still have a republic, so let's do all we can to keep it. All we can to keep it. Let me, while I still have some time, talk about another key figure in our nation's history, President Abraham Lincoln, whom we honor here today by speaking at his memorial. Lincoln was a Republican. In fact, he was the very first Republican president, and he oversaw the creation of the National Academy of Sciences, an independent, non-governmental organization for providing independent, objective evidence, advice to the nation on matters related to science and technology. Yes, that was Abraham Lincoln, first Republican president. I was honored to be elected to the Academy in 2020. It's the voice of our scientific community as regards matters of policy-relevant science at a time when the underlying science of both vaccinations and climate change are under assault here in Washington, D.C. The Academy remains a voice of reason and clarity, having recently published a report warning of the existential threat posed by anti-science misinformation and disinformation. Lest you come to the conclusion that pro-science Republicans like Lincoln are a relic of the distant past, let me point out that two of the biggest heroes in my own personal story were both Republicans. When the famous hockey stick graph my co-authors and I published came under attack more than 2 decades ago by fossil fuel industry-funded Texas Congressman Joe Barton, who was the chair of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, referred to in his own district as Smoky Joe Barton for his pro-polluter policies. Yeah, you can still boo Joe Barton. He hasn't been in Congress for a number of years, but he's among the first politicians to come to our defense. We're actually 2 Republicans. Republican House Science Committee Chair Sherwood Boehlert, who became a dear friend of mine. He passed away some years ago. And Arizona Republican Senator John McCain. Yep. Both of these Republican politicians called out Barton in the strongest terms, basically accusing him of engaging in modern-day McCarthyism. Now, we heard earlier from another hero of mine, former Congressman Fred Upton, also a Republican. In fact, he would later chair the same committee that Joe Barton had chaired, the Energy and Commerce Committee. But unlike Barton, he was actually the recipient of the 2019 Champion of Science Award. Okay, let's hear it for Fred Upton. So, in conclusion, and this is a theme, I didn't expect it to be a recurring theme, but it is a recurring theme here this afternoon. Let's do all we can to bridge the partisan divide. Not all will be willing to cross, we know that. But I truly believe that we can bring over enough to create a critical mass in support of science and science-based discourse. Yes, I believe it. I absolutely believe it. The stakes couldn't be greater. They are no less than the future of our country and indeed our civilization. Thank you so much, folks.
I'm back again to introduce yet another speaker in this amazing lineup of people with all kinds of important perspectives, all here to stand up for science like you are doing. And it's not just because there's no place to sit. You really want to stand up for science. It's my great privilege to introduce a heroic figure that I've admired for some time, who's here from Boston. He has a very challenging personal story to tell you of a family history that afflicted multiple members with Alzheimer's disease. Himself a journalist, he has now begun to have symptoms of that same illness. A lot of people would go and hide somewhere. Not Greg O'Brien. Instead, he wants to tell the world about this and about how important research is for people like him and all those that will come after. So please put your hands together and scream a good welcome to Greg O'Brien.
To read this. Trust me, you don't want me winging it. It wouldn't be good for you. As you know, I have Alzheimer's and I just have to stay focused. Ernest Hemingway, in his brilliant work, A Farewell to Arms, wrote, "The world breaks everyone, and afterwards some are strong in the broken places." And so I pray for all of you today to be strong in the broken places. And that's why we're here. With drastic cuts on the table for critical medical research for Alzheimer's, other forms of dementia, cancer, and other horrific diseases, innocents' lives will be lost. Few would argue for the need to cut government waste, but cuts must be thoughtful, not the meat cleaver approach that we have before us. As a journalist, I have no party affiliation. I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'm in the middle. My focus is building a strong constituency for unilateral support for medical research and care for the millions upon millions who are suffering today. I am deeply concerned about the future. It's simple math. I learned as a young age from the Sisters of Charity in an Irish school outside Manhattan that 1 + 1 is 2. But if you subtract 2, you have 0. And that's not right, and that's where I fear we're headed. It shouldn't be that way. It just shouldn't. Good research and science are not dirty words. Boy, I wish my mother could hear this. I lost my maternal grandfather, my mother, my paternal uncle to Alzheimer's, and before my father's death, he too died of dementia. One of 10 kids, I was at both my parents' deathbed on Cape Cod, the family caregiver. That image burns inside me. Several years ago, Alzheimer's came for me. I also have prostate cancer, ongoing breakdown of my body, given that brain signals are not connecting properly. I also deal with serious internal hemorrhaging at times, and a degree of numbness from my neck to my feet. I feel a little like Gumby. Have a little love here? Alzheimer's, with some, can be a 20-year journey, the experts say. It's like having a sliver of your brain shaved every day. That's why more research is needed to slay the demons of this disease. Today, I have little short-term memory. A close friend of mine calls it CRS. Translated in Gaelic, can't remember shit. Thus, my MacBook Pro laptop is my best friend. It's my brain. I write everything down before I forget. As with others on this serpentine journey, I deal with disconnections every day, with hallucinations, deep depression, all-out confusion, a loss of self and place. It's not pleasant. And again, that's why we need more research. But I keep moving forward, not retreating. I want to write to encourage others. God is good, and he carries me. Footprints in the sand. I'm wholly imperfect as a person, but I see my relationship with the Lord as a combination of the agonizing lurch in the Addams Family and Telly Savalas, the lollipop Kojak, who loves your baby. That's all right. Thank you. But the point about all this is without adequate funding for medical research, without a strong commitment to this, we lose our soul as a nation. I would like to believe that both Republicans and Democrats would not want to go there. This is not a liberal or conservative cause. It's a fight for life issue. I'm almost done. But you'll like this part. So in my journey, I've turned to the iconic film Animal House, to the late John Belushi, a.k.a. Bluto Blutarsky, in his epic speech rallying defeated fraternity brothers facing school explosion. Over? Did you say over? Bluto goads them. Nothing is over until we say it is. And so, folks, it isn't over until we say it's over. Keep rallying, keep the faith, be strong in the broken places. God bless you, and thanks for listening.
What did that sign say? This nurse stands with science? Awesome. is my pleasure to introduce Congressman Suhas Subramanyam, represents Virginia's 10th Congressional District. A lawyer who has worked in the private sector with several tech startups and started his own business. He previously served as a White House technology policy advisor to President Barack Obama. In the Virginia House of Delegates from 2019 to 2023 and the Virginia State Senate from 2023 to 2024, Suhas passed landmark legislation to lower the costs of tolls, utility bills, and prescription drugs. And lastly, he also co-founded a caucus dedicated to bipartisanship and passed bipartisan bills to improve K-12 education, lower taxes, and address gun safety. Please join me in welcoming Suhas.
How are we doing today? Yeah. I'm Congressman Suhas Subramanyam. I live like 30 minutes from here in Northern Virginia. Any Virginians in the house? Yeah, Virginia. I'm here because there's an attack right now happening on science here, and we have to fight back. Are you ready to fight back with me? Yeah. I stand with science. When I got elected to Congress, I told them, put me on the science committee because I want to do bipartisan work. But what I'm seeing right now is there's a lot of people letting these cuts to science, technology, innovation happening, and we have to stop it today. We have to stop it because it'll do irreversible damage to our country and to so many people. Science is not just about maps. It's about so much more. It's about saving lives. Science is about making sure we can build a strong economy. And science is about making sure that we have a prosperous future for every single American, including our kids. We have to save science. We have to stand up for science today. Now, they're making these cuts in the name of government efficiency and getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. If that's your goal, then science should be the last thing that you cut. The absolute last thing that you should cut. $1 spent and $1 invested in science gives us $10 back, $20 back, because it's the best investment you can make in our people and in our country, and it's what makes our country great. Science is what makes our country great. And so we have to fight this, but I'll tell you, they're cutting. They tried to fire the people that keep our nukes safe. They tried to fire the people that keep Ebola under control. They're trying to fire scientists, innovators all across every single agency. They don't know what they're doing, and they don't know the cost of what they're doing. We have to stop it. But I know that you know that. But we need to let the people who are not here today know that too. And so that means we need to make sure we call every single person who's not here today, every single legislator on both sides of the aisle, and let them know that we will not stand up for this. Are you with me in that fight? Then let's get to work today. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you.
Quick shout out to the sign that says, fun science like your life depends on it, because it does. Oh, I know you. Oh my gosh, hey, what's up? It is my pleasure to introduce Connor Phillips, a research fellow at the NIH.
But it's something about this joint right here.
There he studied treatments for children with cerebral palsy and broader questions about how learning happens in the brain. He received his bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering at ASU, Arizona State University, where he developed robot-assisted therapies for children with cerebral palsy. Please join me in welcoming Connor Phillips.
Thank you all for being here today. As you heard, my name is Connor Phillips, and I'm a proud member of UAW 2750, the Fellows Union at the National Institutes of Health. Yeah. As you've heard today, The health of Americans is tied to our investment in biomedical research. When science thrives, we all thrive. And I am living proof of that. You may not see it at first glance, but I have cerebral palsy. My mother went into labor more than 3 months early, and the treatments that helped ensure my survival were made possible by NIH-funded research. Just 4 years before I was born. Without that science, I might not be able to walk. I might not be alive at all. My very existence is a testament to the power of NIH research and the lives it transforms. That's why I chose to dedicate my life to science. Yeah. At the NIH, I've worked to develop new therapies to improve the lives of other children with cerebral palsy. Now, I'm advancing our understanding of the brain. I hope to give back to the institution that gave me my health. But because of so-called efficiency cuts imposed by the Trump administration, I am forced to stop this critical work, even as an unpaid volunteer. It begs the question, how does stopping ongoing research make our government more efficient? How can these cuts be driven by fiscal responsibility when scientists are prevented from working for free? These cuts to NIH funding aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're life-threatening. They mean people with cancer go untreated. They mean those with Alzheimer's will continue into cognitive decline. They mean families suffer. These cuts are a means to steal from the health of Americans to provide tax breaks for the rich. We cannot accept this. We must stand together for the health of our nation. To those listening across the country, I challenge you to stand up for science. Call your representatives and demand they protect NIH, the foremost biomedical research institution in the entire world. This is a fight for lives. Lives like mine, like yours, like those we love. And when we fight, we win. 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 Thank you.
Standing for science, to fund our research and fund our futures. If we don't fight for science, who will? And lastly, this person is standing up for science because they lost their mom to a cancer 10 years ago that now has had a successful clinical trial that can cure it. We need science. This next speaker, I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Nate Brott, who is the former director of the NIH Executive Secretariat. He recently spoke out against the current attacks on science, standing up for the NIH's mission and against orders that ran contrary to years of NIH research and findings about sexuality and gender. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Nate Brott.
A little taller than JP. First, let me thank all of you for being here to support this worthy cause. Second, allow me to thank the organizers for Stand Up for Science for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Contrary to what JP just said, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a researcher, but I appreciate them allowing me to speak anyway. I certainly do not feel worthy to share the stage with luminaries like Francis Collins and Bill Nye, the science guy. My name is Nate Brought, and last Friday I resigned my position with NIH via a resignation letter I submitted to Matt Memoli, posted on LinkedIn, and which was published in the Washington Post yesterday. My career started on a pair of yellow footprints on Paris Island in July of 2001. And that journey took me to 3 separate continents. During my career, I found myself in Iraq, tracking and eliminating terrorist targets. I found myself at Fort Meade, Maryland, battling the proliferation of nuclear weapons and tracing terrorist financing. I found myself with the dubious honor of interrupting a meeting to inform Secretary Janet Napolitano of the Boston Marathon bombing. I found myself improving Homeland Security's relationship with Congress by reforming our congressional reports process. I found myself donating a kidney to my best friend's brother 2 days after my best friend died of cancer. But my friend lived long enough to make that happen because NIH-funded research and treatments extended his life by 3 years from what the doctors initially thought it would be. I found myself shocked by the Kids in Cages scandal during Trump's first administration and crushed by the realization that I had contributed to the review and clearance of that policy. I found myself working on letters to families to explain why their SNAP benefits were being drastically cut and why their school lunch programs were being scaled back, while struggling with the fact that I personally benefited from those programs as a child. Over the course of my career, I had 4 amazing children, one of whom is here with me today. I earned 2 degrees. And finally, in August of 2023, I realized my career-long dream when I took my position as the director of the executive secretariat at NIH. I found myself finally in a position to demonstrate the effectiveness of modern management practices, unlike what we're seeing in our federal government today. However, my dream was short-lived following the inauguration of Donald Trump on January 20th. And I soon found myself sacrificing everything that I had worked for so that I could keep my oath of office. It will be tempting for many to assume that I'm merely bitter after a long election season where my preferred candidate lost. But I can assure you that's not the case. In 24 years of federal service, I spent 4 years working for the president that I voted for. I never agreed with everything that I had to do, but I never had an issue doing what needed to be done to follow the laws passed by Congress and implement the priorities of whoever the current president was. But that's not what I encountered in January and February of this year. What I instead encountered was a lawless administration dead set on usurping the power of the other branches of government, of finding new and creative ways to disobey court orders. Towards the end of my time with NIH, I sat in meetings where I repeatedly challenged leadership on the illegal actions of this administration. Though we agreed that we were not in compliance with lawful court orders as the Constitution would demand, we did nothing in our official capacities to keep our oaths of office and demand our leaders follow the guiding principles that this country was founded on: the separation of powers, the rule of law, and equal protection for all Americans under the law. Instead, we actively implemented unscientific and unconstitutional executive orders at the expense of our trans and intersex colleagues and fellow citizens. Instead, we held tight, hoping that any day now the administration would allow us to begin respecting the law again. Instead, we followed an acting director who I have reason to believe was not legally appointed to that task. Instead, we denigrated our reputation and our legacy worldwide by following a pseudoscience snake oil salesman who's been installed as the head of HHS. And we suffered all of these harms because President Trump does not have the integrity as a leader to admit he made the decisions that his base resented during COVID. He refuses to admit that he scapegoats NIH for merely advising him and having no authority to issue orders on our own. Those were his decisions. Contrary to what Fox News would have you believe, Tony Fauci is not a criminal mastermind who spent 5 decades saving millions of lives around the world so that he could fool people into wearing masks. The fact that President Trump has repeatedly put Dr. Fauci's life in danger to avoid acknowledging his own accountability is a tragedy and a national embarrassment. The future of science in America faces unique challenges and nearly insurmountable obstacles to recover from so much damage in such a short time. We've done irreparable harm to our universities and research institutions here at home. We've done obscene amounts of damage to our international partnerships. We need to figure out how to stop this administration from dismantling our country's scientific community and selling it off to the lowest bidders at big pharma companies owned by their allies so that we ensure science continues to advance for everyone. We need to figure out how to reestablish our place at the forefront of scientific research so that we do not spend decades lagging behind adversarial nations who continue to advance and invest in the future. And unbelievably, the unique challenges facing the future of science in this country are not my leading cause for concern or the main reason why I'm here today. As serious as those concerns are, they're offset by one very simple reality. The future of scientific research in America will be inconsequential if we fail to secure the future of democracy and the rule of law in America first. Thank you.
All right, how we doing? Let's shake it out. Shake it out. Come on. All right. Up next, we have Dr. Patrick Sullivan, the Charles Howard Candler Professor of Epidemiology at Emory University's Rollins School of Public Health. He's the co-director of the Prevention Sciences Core at Emory Center for AIDS Research, CFAR, and he has worked in HIV prevention for 26 years. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Patrick Sullivan.
For science. We probably all have our own reasons and parts of our own life stories that lead us to be here today, making our stand for science. And what I'm passionate about is work to end the HIV epidemic in the United States and around the world, work to promote the health and well-being of people living with HIV, and working to train and make opportunities for the next generation of scientists. So I was asked today to give a little insight into what science and public support for science has done in our global response to the HIV epidemic. And for me, this is a really personal issue. I moved to start college in Atlanta in 1984, and the HIV epidemic was in full swing in Atlanta. It was a scary time for our community. It was a tragic time for people living with HIV and their caregivers, as they were visibly affected. There was no effective treatment, and there was pervasive stigma towards people living with HIV. So when we think about ending the HIV epidemic, it takes an all-of-science approach. We need clinicians. We need epidemiologists. We need laboratorians. We need social scientists. Go social scientists, all right. So what I'd like to do is tell you some of the things that this research community has accomplished. And if you hear something that you want to thank scientists for, I want to hear back, all right? In the 4 decades we've been working, we've developed tests for HIV, which are sensitive, that allow people to test themselves for HIV, and that yield results in only a couple of minutes. HIV testing. The scientific community has developed treatments for HIV. People living with HIV can have an expectation of a normal life expectancy, and just recently has been the introduction of monthly injections for HIV treatment. And I should say that it's unconscionable that people who were benefiting from these life-saving treatments supported through PEPFAR are being deprived of them. It's unacceptable, and it needs to change. Prevention. We have preventive medications that are 99% effective at keeping people protected from HIV, and we now have monthly injections that prevent HIV infection in those who are not living with HIV. And we're still on the pathway in search of a vaccine for HIV, and we must not give up on this effort. This is part of a global effort that has to be sustained to foresee the end of the HIV epidemic in the world. So support for our colleagues working on HIV vaccine research. I said today that HIV prevention work is a team endeavor. And so I want to thank all of our federal partners, whether they are scientists, laboratorians, funders, administrators, grant administrators, who make it possible for us to do this work. Thank you to our federal partners. The United States has a bold vision for ending the HIV epidemic, and we are on the path to do that. But interrupting any of these streams of science for testing, for treatment, for prevention, for vaccine, threatens our progress towards that shared goal. So as we wrap up today, I want to hear from you about your support for our federal scientists and colleagues who make this effort possible, for the NIH, for the CDC, and for training the next generation of public health scientists to do this work. Thank you for standing up for science.
All right, up next, we have Dr. Bonnie Swainer, the founding director of the Johns Hopkins Disability Health Research Center and endowed professor of disability health and justice. Drawing from her experiences as a person with a disability, she aims to shift the paradigm from living with a disability to thriving with a disability. Dr. Swainer's research applies evidence-based strategies to dismantle the barriers that disabled people face, including in STEM. Her work has impacted policies at state, federal, and international levels, and she played a critical role in the national advocacy that led to the NIH's designation of people with disabilities as a health disparity population. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Bonnie Swainer.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon. I am so honored for the opportunity to speak with you all today. And that was great rollout music, so thank you to the DJ. So I'm Bonnie Swainer, and as my introduction suggested, I have spent the majority of my career trying to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to thrive in STEM. As a person with a disability, I know firsthand the barriers that exist, but I also know the power of science to take them down. Federally funded research is an essential part of that equation and has shaped the arc of my life. When I was a teenager, federally funded research was essential for saving my life when I had a rare infection that was resistant to antibiotics. Federally funded research, again, was essential for the care I received when I had complications after the birth of my son. And federally funded research helped slow the vision loss that I experienced after being diagnosed with a degenerative retinal condition. And now today, as a person with low vision, technology and accessibility advances that were driven by federally funded research allow me to do the things that I love, including being a scientist. Because of the research that has been supported by federal funds, I haven't just been able to live, but to thrive. And certainly the trajectory and that path has not been easy, and there's always room for improvements. For the more than 70 million Americans in the United States, we experience obstacles every day. They're all around us. And it's not about our abilities. Those barriers come from environments that aren't designed to include us and mindsets that think we can't. But science is essential to changing all of that. And when I was in the early part of my career, as a scientist with a disability, I faced immense barriers. And I felt alone, and I felt like I didn't belong, and I wanted to give up. Thank you. So I did the... We all do. So I did the only thing that I knew how to do, which was research. And so my colleagues and I were among the first to publish data showing the woefully underrepresentation of scientists with disabilities receiving federal funds. And to my surprise, those data led to real change, changes in policies, changes in programs, and changes in opportunities, which now, unfortunately, are all under threat. But I could only do that work because I had freedom to investigate those questions, scientific freedom, and the opportunity to access data. Without those two things, those things which are not luxuries, we can't uphold scientific integrity, and we can't drive social progress. So today, we are all here to fight back. And to remind the world that science isn't something that just happens in laboratories and in scientific journals. Science is all around us. It is woven into the fabric of our lives, and it is essential to get us to a better future. But it's clear we have to unite and fight. And we have to do that not just today, but every day. And as the late, great disability activist Judy Heumann once said, change never comes at the pace we want. It only comes after years and people joining together, strategizing, sharing, and pulling all the levers that they can. And it's clear it's time that we have to do that too. So thank you all for being here. Stand up for science. I know this is only the beginning, and a huge thanks to the organizers who have made this happen.
All right, y'all, I got some shout-outs real fast. Some group shout-outs. Where are the UVA people at? UMB? Drexel University? Yeah, over there somewhere. Gallaudet University? Okay, got a couple over here. When the co-lead organizers first started this, we had no idea that this would be, the support that we see, and we know that this is happening all around the world. And this next speaker